Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, and we are getting ready for London. London calling your Chicago Cubs. Cubs getting ready to play their first ever game abroad in London. Our good friends Gary Ross and Tanya have joined us at this early hour for a podcast at 11:30. Gary was asking us why are we so early for this podcast today. Well, the NBA draft is tonight, and it's kind of throwing off the scheduling a little bit, and the Cubs are off. So thanks for joining us. Rachel joining us from London in the chat. She says, let's go, London Cubs time. She is, of course, the queen of the CHGO Cubs podcast. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody, Delmendo, Ryan Herrera. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, how about this? I have a couple of pens right on my desk, or not my desk, my table where I sit here, and 90% of them don't work. The first pen I pulled out today,
Nice.
London.
I love London.
I heart London.
I heart London. It doesn't work, by the way. So that's going in the trash. People have been asking us, are we going to London? Here's the official word. We haven't been told no. We haven't been told no. So, save us a spot. We haven't been told yet.
You never know. We might just show up.
No.
Yeah, haven't been told no.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance.
I'm
ready to be heard again. Let's go.
Apparently, there's a Cubs pub in London that is like packed to the brim right now. That's pretty cool. Thursday.
Do we have to call it the Goose Island Pub now for the next few days? Does everything have to be referred to as a pub instead of a bar or a draft house? Is everything a pub?
Yeah, and you got to drink pints, according to Rachel. You're not drinking beers, pints.
Exactly.
I will
say one thing. You guys did not watch Ted Lasso, correct?
I've watched a little bit of it.
A little bit of it. So
I know what
sort
it
of
is.
the theme of it is, obviously he's over in England and he takes over the soccer team. He's an American coach who knows nothing about soccer. He's got this sign that says believe. Believe is sort of the theme and thing. We've been talking about that this week. Do you now believe? What is it, 10 of 12? The Cubs have won?
Yeah.
10 of 12. Do you believe the Cubs are playing their best baseball right now?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, they are. Like it's like it seems that we talked about the starting pitching and just how it's kind of gotten on a roll. I mean, Tyone is maybe the one of this last stretch that just hasn't been as consistent as they need him to be, but the starting pitching's overall been great. Bullpen's been great. Defense has been good. The hitting, the clutch hits are coming. Overall, they're putting up runs. Like, yeah, this is as good as we've seen the Cubs play baseball like all year. And I don't know how long it lasts because they obviously went through a pretty long stretch where they weren't playing their best baseball, and you could arguably say they were playing their worst baseball. So I don't know how long this lasts, but the fact that it's gone on for about 12 games now, and you're seeing a lot of it is coming from like what we expected the Cubs to be good at: the defense, the run prevention, like even the bullpen. It was bad for a while there, obviously, but you see Adbert and Mark Leiter kind of finding their roles at that way back end of the bullpen, high leverage, late inning spots. Whether that's Adbert might be the closer, like the de facto closer, but I think if you got 3 righties coming up in the 8th and 3 lefties coming up in the 9th, Ross might switch it and have ALLCITY then Leiter, which right now seems okay. Julian Merriweather's picking it up. Michael Fulmer's actually looked a lot better than his last 10 or so outings. More medium leverage to low leverage type stuff, but you need guys like that. So just like the overall run prevention has been like pretty solid this last 2 weeks now almost. So that I can see lasting. I don't know if I'm going to see the Cubs putting up as many runs as they've put up these last couple weeks, but like if they're pitching and playing defensively like they've done the last 12 games, like they're going to be right in it the whole year.
Yeah, I mean they're just. I said it yesterday. They're clicking on all cylinders right now. Like even when they have innings where they are unable to get a runner in scoring position, it doesn't feel like the game is over, or you feel like that you don't feel like that's going to loom large in later in the game. And a lot of that has just been because they've been able to score runs in bunches. They had multiple innings yesterday where they scored multiple runs in an inning. And then when you got Stroh and Steele and Hendricks and Smiley just giving you quality start after quality start, you just feel like you're always in games. And of course, when they were playing bad, a lot of those games they were losing by like 1 or 2 runs. So you always knew that they were better than that. And that's why I was so frustrated for so long, because last year made a lot more sense on why they weren't good. This year, it made no sense why they were playing so bad in May, other than the fact that they don't have a lot of power, or at least the power is inconsistent, because they'll have a game where they hit 2 or 3 homers, and then they'll have a game where they score all their runs with 12 singles, and like it doesn't make sense. I do think the power thing is something that will probably loom large all season for this team in terms of, not necessarily costing them games, but, if they have a game where they need to score more runs, then they're going to need to hit some balls out of the ballpark. You know what I mean? So, but as far as overall right now, like they're clicking on all cylinders, and I think they're playing better than they even did in April. And I think you can say that just because they have the more optimal roster. There's no Eric Hosmer, Wisdom and Mancini aren't everyday players right now. You're seeing Morel out there, playing his best baseball, it feels like in some aspect as an overall player. You're seeing, Mike Tauchman just kind of take his role and run with it. And, the only glaring spot, at least position player wise right now, is probably third base, but even it's been fine for the most part. It hasn't cost the Cubs games. So yeah, you just got to keep riding the wave. Like I said yesterday, they got to get back to 500. And once they get to 500, that's when they need to really go.
Some good stuff in the chat. Joel agreeing exactly with Cody saying bad baseball luck is even itself out. Fly the Dub saying, hope they don't get rained out because it rains a lot in London, right, matey? I think that makes them a pirate if you say right, matey. But maybe Rachel can give us a weather update for out there. And Mike Dubs, borrowing my don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, saying, I'm hearing the Cardinals are taking Spirit Airlines to London. Pretty boring. Wouldn't that be funny if they flew Spirit Airlines to London? No, I agree. This is the best they've played because more facets of the game are playing well at one time instead of just like one thing carrying the team. Rachel says the forecast is good, high 80s and non-stop sun.
Love to see it.
If we get there, we're saying there's a chance it would be sunny. And listen, here's what I think. If we don't end up in London this weekend, here's the reason why. Exactly what we're talking about. You got to save the money for the playoff run in the World Series at this point. You got to have a postseason budget at media companies. That's got to be set aside. Maybe we didn't have that set aside before the season, but now they enter today 3.5 games out of first place in one of the worst divisions in baseball. Sure, but 3.5 out behind the Reds. The Cardinals are 9 out. I have a question for you. If you had to put your DraftKings cash down on it right now, Cody Delmendo or Ryan Herrera, who would you put money on to win this division? And part B to that question is, are the Cardinals really out of it? Are we sure about that?
Well, let's look at the odds, Stuck.
Oh, there's actual numbers for this.
There's actual odds, yeah. So
you can just go to the app for that.
Yeah. If anyone here follows me on Twitter, they know that I put $5 on the Reds to win the division a few weeks ago before they started this win streak. I got them at plus 2,000, and now they're down to plus 350.
Wow.
So I can cash out right now for around like $17 if I wanted to. But the Cubs are set right at plus 350 with the Reds as well. Cardinals at plus 700 and the Pirates at plus 2,500, which is crazy that they've fallen that far back, but they've lost.
They've fallen behind the Cardinals for odds to win the division.
Yeah.
They were in first place 4 days ago.
I think Vegas just thinks that like the Cardinals, you just look at the lineup alone, like they think that they're going to make a run at some point. The Brewers are plus 100, which I think is like no one should be placing that bet. I don't understand why the Brewers have the odds on favorite. Maybe they just think the pitching is better. I don't know. But
well, who would you put it on then? Because Christian in the live YouTube chat, which is the best way to enjoy the CHGO process, says the Cardinals still have some devil magic in them.
Yeah, I mean we keep saying that it's not early anymore, but I don't feel like the Cardinals are out of it until we get to the All-Star break and even like to the trade. I would say to the trade deadline. Like, see what they do at the trade deadline, and if they're still well under 500, like maybe I would finally like let it go. But like I'm with Christian. I understand the devil.
How many did they win in a row in 2021? Was it like 17 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But
I think
Rachel
the Cardinals,
they have no pub in London.
Yeah, but
so
I feel like you can't count the Cardinals out until they're like mathematically out of it strictly because of like that. Like that's just one example of what they can do even at the end of the season. I don't know who I'd put my money on. I don't know. This division is so wacky, and like last week, like 10 days ago, the Pirates were in first place, and now they're in fourth. So like, yeah. I don't like necessarily believe in any team in this division right now, and any team can win it. Even the Cardinals. Honestly, I'm going to say the Cardinals aren't out of it yet.
I agree. It's not over till it's over with the Cardinals. Too much. Like Ryan, you're saying, there's too much past history. There's too many experiences, right?
And there's too many good players on that team. Like we talk about Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt were both MVP candidates last year. I know the pitching isn't great. It hasn't been great all year. Somehow they're going to you get the feeling they're going to turn that around, right? But they have good players all over the field. So that's why I look at the Cardinals. They're 13 games under 500 right now.
Yeah.
They could go on a run and close it. If anyone at the top of the division had started running away with it by now, I might feel different. But again, like the Brewers, Reds, and Pirates have all been first place in like the last week.
Yeah.
Like the Reds are 4 games over 500, and that's because they've won 12 or 11 in a row. Yeah. Like that's they still haven't run away with the division, and they're on that big of a winning streak. Like the Cardinals could. You get that feeling they could still turn their season around, and then you don't know what's going to happen. But I don't feel comfortable betting on anyone in this division because it's been so up and down all year.
Yeah.
I was going to say, imagine the Spirit Airlines plane landing in London and all those jorts come off and everybody in the airports looking around going, ooh, good golly, look at those Americans. They're not really Americans. Well, they are, I suppose. But anyway, sorry, Cody.
I was just going to say, like, at the beginning of the year, the Cubs were plus 650 to win the Central, and now they're at plus 350 with the Reds. So those odds shift up and down in terms of like, how they're playing at the time. Right. But right now, if you force me to choose a team, I would say either the Reds or the Cubs, because they're the two hottest teams in the division. The Cubs have a better pitching staff. The Reds argue if their offense keeps going and they added Joey Votto back, like you might be able to argue at some point that their offense is better than the Cardinals even. And like, they have some studs. I mean, you can't sit here and deny it. They're honestly, like, I can't believe I'm saying it. I haven't been able to say it for a really long time, but like the Reds really do scare me.
If they add really impressed, especially.
Yeah. If they're above 500 at the deadline, you don't think they're going to go try and add a pitcher or something like?
And they just added Joey Votto back.
Yeah.
So like, Cubs killer.
Yeah. And he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. The Reds are the one team right now that scares me, and it's because they've won 11 in a row, and they added Joey Votto back, and I just don't know what you're going to get out of the pitching from them. So we'll see. But I think Milwaukee is trending down. Obviously, Pittsburgh's trending down, and the Cardinals, like I'll say this: like I'm surprised they haven't made some drastic move. Like they haven't fired their manager yet, right? Like they've been so bad. Like no one thought they'd be this bad, and they haven't fired Marmol yet. Like I feel like they needed to do something like that to just shift the vibes or something, whatever's going on in that clubhouse. Everything's been downhill for them since the Tyler O'Neill thing, with the, calling him out to the media, basically, you know what I mean? So, and he's been on the injured list, but the more the Cardinals start to continue, the more the Cardinals fade, the more it feels like maybe they actually would trade Goldschmidt or Arenado or both at the deadline.
Did you say Goldschmidt?
I did say Goldschmidt. Yeah. I don't think they'll trade either one of them to the Cubs, but
you want to solve first base for a couple years.
Well, I'm just saying. But they have so much young talent that they could afford to do it and revamp for next year, maybe get some pitching. And I still think they would be a good ball club. Like they, as bad as whatever as Jordan Walker has been, I still think he's going to be a really good player. Nolan Gorman has been great for them, but they need to just play him at third base. He's not a second baseman. Tommy Edman is kind of like their own version of Nico Horner. Ironically, he played college baseball with Nico Horner. And, Lars Nootbaar, he's a creative player, so obviously he's going to be good. So, like they have good players. And that, like we said, it doesn't make any sense on why they've been so bad. But, they have to get it going, because I think if they are this bad towards the end of July, they're a good organization. They should. I feel like they should try to move one of those two guys if they do, because it's just they ain't going to be making the playoffs if they're that bad at the end of July, early August. So that's kind of how I look at that team. So I don't think they're out of it, but they better get going soon if they are going to be in it. So I just hope it ain't this weekend.
I just noticed that the godfather of the CHGO Cubs podcast, Mr. Sir Michael Collada, says, I'm already on board and sitting down. Is he going to London? Is Collada going to London? And if so, shouldn't we be getting live reports from him? Mm-hmm. Like videos sent in via Twitter, maybe?
Wow.
First person, video. And then I have a question for you. This is what Robert Starnes says in the live chat. He says, this London schedule is BS, not needed, does nothing here for the sport. Well, it might not do anything for the sport here. I don't think that's the point of it. The part of it they're trying to get is for people like Rachel that are over in London, they're trying to get baseball embraced. They love cricket there. Yeah. And for Collada, maybe Collada is going to look for a third baseman. Maybe he's looking for a cricket player over there that we can bring over. And if Slaughter's not called up for Gary, a cricket player might fill in. But this is about Rachel. This is about people in London and in other countries trying to embrace American baseball.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I totally agree with it's not necessary. I think two sports. I think for sure the NFL will eventually go abroad and potentially all over the world. But again, that's American football.
Yeah.
Football to everybody else is soccer, and it's worldwide. But our sports, I think part of it's because as Americans, we think everything we have is the best and we don't like to share. But the NFL is our king. The NFL will eventually leak into England at the very least. But I wouldn't be surprised if you started having a European side of the NFL. That's what baseball's trying to get to. Baseball's international, but they don't play it internationally. You know what I mean? Like, we know it's big in Japan. So that's why the World Baseball Classic draws some interest. We're trying to get the major league product accepted and embraced in other countries. So that, do you agree that there's some value to this series being played out there, at least a couple games?
Yeah, I do. And I also think one of the, you look at the World Baseball Classic and Great Britain was in it. But it just didn't
made their own jerseys.
Well, yeah, it's seeing some things like the game just isn't funded well in places like England or in the UK. And I think part of this is at least for the UK itself, you start to get you bring an event like this there, you start to get people a little bit excited about baseball there. It grows the sport and more funding goes into that kind of into kind of building baseball in the UK, and then maybe that expands around Europe, and all of a sudden the World Baseball Classic is blows up. It's huge everywhere, right? We like to talk about the World Cup, like every country loves soccer really, and that's why the World Cup is so huge and it's a global thing. Like that's what they want to turn the World Baseball Classic into, and like getting places where baseball just isn't funded, baseball just isn't like part of the national consciousness, not that big like that's going to help grow events like the World Baseball Classic. I don't know that it ever reaches a World Cup level, but like the only way to grow it is to get countries that aren't very invested into it to get them invested in it. And that this is one way to do it is bringing one of the most historic rivalries in all of North American sports, right? Not just Major League Baseball, but like Cubs Cardinals is pretty historic. It's been a long time that these two have been playing baseball against each other. So taking that, bringing it to London, making it a pretty big event there, I think that it helps in that sense as far as growing it, getting Great Britain, UK, whoever it is in Europe, getting them invested into baseball and making them care a little bit more, and maybe you start to see the growth of the game that Major League Baseball wants to have.
I see Rachel saying you're completely right, though. So she's agreeing with me, which is great. Look at the growth of the NFL over here. European baseball is getting bigger and bigger, too. It's so fun to be part of it. Let's keep spreading it. See, that's what it's about. Like she had to seek out Major League Baseball to become a Cubs fan. Now Major League Baseball is trying to reach out to other Rachels across the pond and say, hey, this is what we do. Cody, do you worry that it's going to this series and the days off and the time and the travel will slow down the Cubs hot streak?
That was like my only thing that I'm not a fan of about this series is like, I kind of wish it just would have been like right before the All-Star break or something. Like go play the 2 games on a weekend right before the All-Star break. That way you come back and you have your days to rest or whatever. Because once again, I'm a guy who doesn't care if any Cubs make the All-Star game. I'd rather them go home and rest and then go fuck the league after when the second half starts. But yeah, I mean, that is the only thing that really kind of worries me. But I think that it will be a problem for them, or it could be a problem for them after when they get back more so than like this weekend. Because I think there would be enough. I think they'll have a lot of like anticipation and like the adrenaline of like we're playing in London and these 2 games are nationally televised, and I expect there to be a lot of like a lot of people watching because the Cubs and the Cardinals have great fan bases. So whether it's just the fan bases that are watching or even, just baseball fans in general, I think that it'll be heavily watched. And again, like hopefully it does, grow baseball more in the UK or overseas, whatever. I wish the game wasn't at 9:00 tomorrow morning, but whatever. For the people over there, I'll accept it one time.
Colada says they have no trouble staying awake during a soccer game. They'll like baseball even more. See, that's a shot across the pond that we didn't need.
He also said that he's not going. He's on the slaughter train.
Yeah.
Like the slaughter stands are in the chat.
You weren't there yesterday, Luke. Gary's created an army.
Yeah,
like called the slaughter train.
Yeah. There's an army in the chat and then Discord, all about Jake Slaughter.
It seems dangerous. I think
he's going to have more hype than Mervis, and that's going to be scary when he does get the call and disappoints everyone.
Hey, the good news is it's always sunny in London, at least according to Rachel, the next couple days, and it's always sunny here too. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, one-stop shopping for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are on your cannabis journey. Easy online ordering and in-store pickup, great transport, loyal programs, Sunnyside Rewards, transparent, Illinois' favorite dispensary from the city to the suburbs, Wrigley to River North, Champaign to South Beloit. I'll tell you, Kyle Hendricks has made me feel sunny this week, and so have the Cubs, Stroman, Hendricks, and now hopefully Steele across the pond. Want to tell you about some of the products they have and the house of brands Sunnyside has for you, including Mindy's, the best tasting gummy and chocolate edibles created by James Beard award-winning chef Mindy Segal and Cresco Labs. She's the chef that was at Mindy's Hot Chocolate, which is now been converted into Mindy's, where they have edibles and all kinds of good things. Also, Good News provides them gummies, rechargeable vape pens, and cart, perfect for moments with the crew. Cresco has reliable and excellent cannabis, high supply. Wonder, you name it, they've got it. Through August, head to Sunnyside Shop and use the code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. Use one per customer. That's for new customers only. That's not for new customers only. Anybody can use the code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 or older or an Illinois Med card holder. Again, the code is CHGO25 for checkout, 25% off the total order.
I believe that's Sunnyside.shop, Luke.
Sunnyside what?
Sunnyside.shop. Like, I get the dot in there. So that's the URL, Sunnyside.shop.
Oh, thank you. Yes, at Sunnyside.shop and use the code CHGO20. Good catch, Ryan.
I was yesterday years old when I learned that it's Corey Freeman's favorite place to visit in Wrigleyville.
It is.
Right.
That might be the reason why he lives in Wrigleyville.
No, and Sunnyside is number one, and Wrigley Field itself has dropped to number 2. That's how much he likes Sunnyside.
Yeah.
You know what else he'd like? Lewis University. Students just like you, full-time jobs, families, full-time sports fans. They go back to school to earn respected degrees at Lewis University, 35 miles southwest of Chicago in Romeoville, ranked as one of the U.S. News and World Report's top-tier colleges. Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts. They offer evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance work, family, and education. Faculty bring real-world experience and instruction to the classroom, which is immediately relevant to your career. They offer career support and academic resources for adult students looking to complete your bachelor's degree or master's degree or enroll in a professional certificate program. Lewis has the right program just for you. They offer several career-focused programs that'll set you up for success. Just going to highlight one real quickly. Lewis has a grad program in cybersecurity. Lewis is a Department of Homeland Security Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity. They provide their students with scholarship funding that's not available anywhere else. They also have business analytics, finance, MBA, project management. Discover how a degree from Lewis can help you find a better world. Learn more at lewisu.edu/you can do this. You can do it. All right, let's talk a little London, right? I want to know off the top, who is Cubs royalty? Who would you describe as Cubs loyalty? It's similar to the Mount Rushmore, but that's American. So if you had to consider somebody as Cubs royalty, who would it be? We'll pick our king later, but just Cubs royalty. Who would you march out there? I would say anybody that was on the 2016 championship team, Cubs royalty.
Anyone on Statue Row, Cubs royalty.
Anybody that's on a statue or getting a statue.
Yeah.
The chat would say Jake Slaughter.
Gary nominates Jake Slaughter as Cubs royalty.
Yeah, I mean, any Hall of Famer. Me personally, I'd put Tony Campana as Cubs royalty. He's just a Cubs legend that I feel like he was something that, he just hit different than a lot of other Cubs.
It's got to be someone that's like, even the people that just like captured fans' hearts, even if it was for like a season.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the second half of Frank Schwindel.
Like 2021 Frank Schwindel might be Cubs royalty because that was
or 2023 Mike Tauchman, like
royalty.
Royalty. Like
royalty.
Again, in 10 years,
Puffy
we'll ask
Rhodes
ourselves,
for one
where were
day,
you for the
royalty.
summer of Mike Tauchman? Like,
yeah. Well, I think you look at like Kerry Wood. Kerry Wood is not going to make the Hall of Fame. He didn't win anything with the Cubs, but like he's Cubs royalty, right?
Oh, 100% he is
Absolutely.
Cubs royalty.
Mark Pryor probably is one too, even though
Kerry Wood more than Pryor though, right? Like, Kerry Wood is.
But people love
Greg Maddux.
Pryor,
Greg Maddux played a lot for the Braves, obviously, but is he Cubs royalty? Yes. If he walks in the Cubs convention, people are just like throwing roses at his feet.
Yeah. Matthew says Dexter Fowler. We said
Dexter
anyone
Fowler,
on
that's a good
2016. Yeah.
What about who would be our Prince Harry? Who do we blame everything on, and who's whining all the time?
Eric Hosmer.
Eric Hosmer is our Prince
VR.
Just go back to the chat.
Eric
last year,
Sogard.
Matt Merton looked the most like Prince Harry. That might be a social graphic we could get out. Who is this Prince Harry? And it could be a Matt Merton graphic from a couple years ago. Well, it's more than a couple years at this point.
Yeah.
Fergie Jenkins. Yeah, I agreed. Anybody that's got a statue
Yeah.
is Cubs royalty.
Harry
Gary
Carey.
Ross is Alex Gonzalez.
That's the Prince Harry.
That's Prince
Gonzalez?
Harry for sure. Yeah.
He could be.
Steve Bartman, I guess, would be in there, even though most people have forgiven him by now, hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's think.
Peter says Sammy Sosa. We didn't say Sammy Sosa.
Oh,
Should be.
Sammy is he's the Cubs royalty that has been shunned from the family.
Yeah.
100%. Sammy is is Prince Harry, although he's not Prince Harry anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even get the title. Fly the Dub says Sammy's a cheater.
Yeah. He saved
we have
baseball.
King Charles, who's a great former Cubs player named Charles.
You're making
Charlie
me think
Root,
too hard.
was he?
Yeah,
I don't know. You got to go way back into old Cubs history, I think.
Making me think way too hard for a remote show, Stuck. Come on, man.
Sorry. All right. So I want to know that's our Cubs royalty. We've got our Prince Harry. We have our 2016 is Cubs royalty. Who's king of the Cubs right now? I say king of the Cubs is King Kyle Hendricks. Ryan put out this information yesterday. Guys talked a little bit on the podcast. King Kyle, look what he's done since returning from a capsular shoulder injury. Like that, guys, this doesn't happen. He was gone for a year, and he's come back. Guys are hitting just 195 against him. His ERA is 2.60. And when I put this in our Slack channel, Lawrence snapped back at me and said, how could Kyle Hendricks be King Kyle with Marcus Stroman? Let me tell you why he's King Kyle. Because the king isn't necessarily the most successful. The king is the man with the pelts. The king is the man who's won glorious battles on the battlefield. The king is the man sitting with the robe. The king is the man with the rings on his finger. The king is the most tenured man in the family. It is King Kyle Hendricks, and he has returned to rule the land in Wrigleyville once again. Kyle Hendricks is king of the Cubs right now. It's not Marcus Stroman. We're thankful for Marcus Stroman. He's leading the team in battle right now, but he's not the king. The king is King Kyle Hendricks.
I mean, I agree in the sense that you talk about like the most tenured player on the Cubs. Like he's the only one that was there for that World Series title now.
That's right.
David Ross, because he's not a player anymore. I would argue that Kyle's probably the most respected player in that locker room or in that clubhouse.
King.
I would argue that just again he's a veteran, a grizzled veteran, I guess is the word to put it. World Series champion. He knows the organization up and down. He's had the Cy Young finalist finish and has had the lows of the last couple of years. Like I think you talk about a guy that commands the most respect in that locker room, a guy that's kind of done it all at this level, gone through it all, gone through the highs and the lows, knows what he's talking about, a guy that any of those young pitchers or really any young player on this team could go up to and ask advice and talk to about baseball and talk to about what it's been like to kind of, again, go through the ups and downs in this organization and see the overhaul of the infrastructure in the system. Like Kyle Hendricks knows it all. Not only is he he's a smart, he's just a smart person in general. Like he knows baseball as well as anyone. So I think he commands the most respect in that clubhouse. I think the players give him the most respect in that clubhouse. I think he's that guy. If you think like who, maybe not on field top producer, but like if you think of like who is a leader on this team, like Kyle Hendricks is right there up with anyone else.
And Ryan, he rules with compassion. He rules with compassion, but he's firm in his decisions. If he doesn't want your analytics, he's going to pitch however he wants to pitch because he's king of the Cubs, king of the North Side.
Sources say.
Doug Van Dorn in the live chat says he would nominate Cody Bellinger as at least the Cubs Prince of Wales. Notice how they started winning again when Belly came back from the injured list. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But
They
that
come
doesn't
back
make
the
them
week of
king.
the first Pirate series, right? Yeah.
Rachel thinks I should be at the coronation.
It was
King
well
Kyle.
said. I got to admit, it was very well said. I would say I'm kind of with Ryan here. Like, Stroh's been so great. It's kind of hard to not give him that. But when you want to talk about overall, like, what have you done for the organization and all that stuff, then yeah, Kyle Hendricks he's number one on this list. And it continues to be like a little bit mind blowing of what he's doing because, like, dude, I've set the expectation for Kyle Hendricks at give me 5 innings, 3 earned or less, and this guy goes out there and almost throws a no hitter. He's got, like, in his 6 starts, he's got an ERA under 3. Hitters are hitting a well under 200. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense. The BABIP. We talked about the BABIP on the couch yesterday with Ryan and Corey, and so I guess what is it, Ryan? It's like he's due for some bad luck. So, like, maybe some of these numbers increase eventually, but he's still getting a lot of ground balls, and that's what I like seeing from him.
Yeah, I would say, as far as the Marcus Stroman thing goes, to go back to like Game of Thrones, not necessarily England, Stroman is the hand of the king right now, but the king is still Kyle because he's the man with the pelts, the family, the history, the rings. I knew this was how this was going to finish. Michael Collada has chimed in, and the godfather of the CHGO podcast says Ricketts rules with his cheapness. Can't we keep this positive today? Can't we just stay positive? They've won 10 of 12.
Hey, Collada in the chat yesterday says, we don't stinks. He said it in caps.
Oh, so we are staying positive. That's how we should do it.
But he had to get that comment out. You knew that when you
I knew it was coming.
When you started the segment, you knew that he's like, oh, I know what to say here. I'm gonna drop this heater in for all the people.
Yeah, he was like, Ricketts is keeping the coin and he's just throwing pennies at the peasants. I knew exactly how he was going to play it. Hey, the NBA draft is tonight, and with the NBA draft here, if you had to redraft the Chicago Cubs organization the way they are now, so anybody that's in the farm system, anybody that's been drafted, any free agents, anybody in the front office. But current members. So you can't draft Theo. Who would you draft overall number 1? If you had the number 1 pick for the Cubs organization tonight, who would you pick? How would you start the organization?
Are we talking about players only here?
If you want to pick Jed Hoyer with your number 1 pick, go ahead and pick.
And they have to be in the organization right now. And they have to be.
It doesn't have to be at the major league level, but if you want to pick Cade Horton as your number 1 pick, Cade Horton's your guy. If you had to start the Cubs today and you had the number 1 pick with your current run out of guys that are within the organization, who's your number 1 pick?
So, but it's coming from the Cubs organization, is what you're saying?
Yeah, the pool is anybody that's currently in the organization.
Okay. I was going to say, like, if you're going to go anyone in baseball, like Collada would pick Steve Cohen for his willingness to spend anything.
Or Cubs history, you might say Theo.
Sure. Yeah. Like, so currently in the Cubs organization?
Currently in the Cubs organization. Who's number 1? So I bet
Craig says Pat Hughes.
Pat Hughes.
We don't even want someone that's at least we'll be able to enjoy the calling of the game via the radio. Okay.
So who I think it's really more like who are you most excited about moving forward? Is PCA the number 1 pick? Even though you haven't seen anything at the major league level, are you drafting Dansby or Nico number 1? Are you drafting
I'm just gonna go out
Ben
there
Brown?
and say I'm just gonna go ahead and say Morel. He's 23 years old, and we've seen him adjust a few times now, and like we see the athleticism. Do I think he's gonna be a superstar player? I don't know, but I think he can be a star player, and he's leading the Cubs in all-star voting. I don't know, at least there's a lot of upside there. I don't think he is completely what he is yet. I think that there's more to see. And once they figure out where they're going to play him defensively, that's when he's really going to take off, I think. So I'll go with Morel, number 1.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think one player, I don't know who I'd pick specifically, but I think one player who's kind of put himself into that list this season is Steele. And like, towards the end of his time
yeah.
last season, I think he kind of really put his name in that hat. He's 20. He's going to be 28 next month or a few weeks from now. So he's still relatively young. He's still relatively early in his major league career. And he is a guy, profile wise that like we talked about it with Stroman and how well like he could profile to like his stuff isn't like elite velocity or elite movement or whatever. It's just like it's good command and good placement to get guys on the ground. Like that's his game. And Steele is someone that his stuff plays to the point where he is not striking out everyone with elite speed or crazy movement, whatever. Well, in a way he does, because like that four-seam fastball is kind of a unique pitch, but he gets guys on the ground, he gets weak contact, he avoids barrels. Like that's something that, again, that profile of a pitcher lasts. It projects pretty well. So if you're looking at a guy who's still 27 years old right now, even though he's going to be 28 soon, like he's coming into his own kind of right at the perfect time, where if he can kind of pitch at this level, he should give you a few years of like really good pitching. And if you're the Cubs, and considering the fact that he'd be on the cheaper end of pitching, I think he will just go into the arbitration system next year, or like this upcoming winter.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a few seasons of like pretty cheap pitching if he can kind of pitch at this level. And prior to the injury, we were talking about him being an all-star, right? So like, if you're the Cubs and you're looking at that, like Justin Steele may be your pick, because he's a young, cost-controlled, rising pitcher that arguably could be considered a rising star pitcher. And I think that could be a good place for them to start.
And a left-handed pitcher. I like that, Ryan. Like I think he's higher than you might expect. And Morel's not a bad one either. I think in the chat, a lot of people are going to say Nico. Nico's an obvious one, because you're getting a guy up the middle who is good defensively and can be a spark plug for the offense. The only knock on Nico would be, if you're drafting him number one, do you want a guy with your number one pick that has more power, right? Like, do you want somebody with more power than that? I don't know. I don't know if PCA can be my number one overall pick for the organization today, just because I haven't seen enough of him, and we haven't seen any of him at the major league level. Now, I'm not so sure that the organization wouldn't take him one if they had to redraft the whole thing. And then there's the question of whether or not an ace pitcher, let's say Cade Horton in the system, or somebody, is more valuable to you than the position player. Or are you just looking at overall talent? Who's going to be the best player, pitcher or hitter, moving forward? That's interesting. I don't know. You could make an argument for Nico, though, because Nico's already shown you that he can do it at this level.
It's hard to like want to take a minor league player in this given scenario, because you just don't know. Like Cade Horton has all the tools to be an ace when he gets to the Cubs.
Right.
Like we've seen this guy. But like, I'm intrigued to see when he gets to like Double-A, because from like all the prospect guys and stuff, when they talk about Cade Horton, it's kind of like they all kind of say like he should be doing this at that level that he's at in South Bend right now. So I want to see what he can do when he gets to like the more probably the hardest level of minor league baseball at Double-A, in my opinion. So like to me, like if you're just going based off potential and that kind of thing, then I would think about PCA or Cade Horton. But at least these guys that we all said have proven something, have had good major league moments, seasons, whatever. Like I think that's the route you have to go in this given scenario.
I'm curious where Gary would draft Slaughter.
Number one.
Would it be number one? Would Slaughter be taken ahead of Morel or Mervis?
He'd take him up ahead of Dansby.
Ahead of Dansby. I tell you who I would draft number one: the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. Cody.
Oh yeah, Luke. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial and industrial and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers a free facility assessments that can help find energy saving opportunities like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
How does it work, Cody?
Well, Luke, an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
Did you say comed.com/poweringbiz?
Yeah, schedule it today.
Fantastic.
That's my best. It's my best Luke Stuckmeyer impersonation I'll ever have. Is that just reading that part?
I prefer if you refer to me as King Luke the First today. Thank you.
When you go on comed.com/poweringbiz, after you're done with all that stuff, you should then go to Shady Rays and check out what they got over there. Shady Rays, we love Shady Rays on this show. Love them. I'm
Absolutely.
Still, I gotta get going on doing my lost and broken replacement claim with my Shady Rays that are somewhere in a river near San Antonio. Luke may know which one it is.
Guadalupe River.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go fishing for them. They're gone. But we know Shady Rays would have my back if I needed it. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures, and that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much-needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact. From building playsets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime, Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's shadyrays.com, code CHGO. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
Very good. Love my Shady Rays. Waiting for that new pair to show up. I'm very excited about it. But, when I hit the road, days like this, sunny, a lot of glare out there. Nice to have the polarized shades.
One of my buddies I went to college with, he invited me to his pool that's on a rooftop of where he lives on Irving Park on Saturday.
Oh, fancy schmancy. Well, so if you're not going to London, you'll still feel like royalty.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to call him and let him know that, hey, I can't go. I got to go to London. If things turn around. But, again, we haven't been told yes.
Haven't been told no.
Or no. So
Cody just loves to tell people where other people live.
So you're going to have the reflector.
I didn't say his name. No one knows.
Cody's going to be the creeper at the pool with the reflector shades on. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. I do want to point out that our guy, Michael Collada, says that David Ross is the High Sheriff of Nottingham, always messing up. Although... certainly been better lately.
Yeah, I got
Michael Collada. And somebody in the chat said that Pat Hughes should be described as the royal scribe.
That would be a good role.
Yeah. Who's the most tenured? I guess it's Paul Sullivan, right? Like, who's the most tenured scribe that covers the Cubs on the beat now?
It may be him. He's not beat writer anymore, but
no, but I mean, like,
he's more of the column guy, right?
Yeah, he's there a lot. Would it be?
Maybe him.
I guess it'd be Sully.
Yeah.
So I got to
scribe.
Yeah, the royal scribe. Sir Paul Sullivan, the Royal Scribe. By the way, we missed an opportunity while we were in studio together to do a crosswalk of the three of us crossing the street in our CHGO gear, like the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like,
what is that, Abbey Road?
Content. Could have been good content. So I got
we
a
could have
final
done it
question
walking to the ice cream shop.
Yeah,
last summer.
Crossing the street and in the side you just see cone. Wait, that's not London. I got a question for you. Have you guys been following the Titanic Sub thing? They're saying that the sub's going to run out of air for these people that are. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Okay, so apparently these very wealthy people, there's a sub that you can take, like it looks like sort of a makeshift sub. Like it's not a real submarine, but it's like a diving submarine that you can take down and go to see the Titanic. Well, it went down and they've lost it. And nobody knows for the last several days, they can't find it. So these people are on the ocean or ocean floor somewhere and they're like, we don't know where they're at. Like, so these people are trapped in this little glass submarine thing. Well, I absolutely worst nightmare, right? Like, I think I read that it was like 250 Richterhaus's billionaires. Yes. How do you not know about this at all? Like everybody's like, what? And Elijah's saying it's already probably out of air at this point, but it's been multiple days. I think it was like 250 grand a person to go down in this thing. And people have done it successfully, but whatever this one is, first of all, how do you not have a beacon on the thing? Why isn't there a boat above constantly in communication with the thing?
Yeah.
B, why does it not have a beacon, like a black box for an airplane that's like, if we don't hear from them for like 5 minutes, where are they and how do we go get them?
I will say that I've seen people talking about Titanic on social media, and I just haven't had the care to look up why. So that's me in defense.
It's a 4-day story, is what Sarah said in the chat. So this is probably a little distasteful, but nightmare scenarios. If you've got all the money in the world to burn right now, are you taking a sub for 250 grand down, a sub to go see whatever you want to see on the ocean floor? Or are you taking a rocket to be in space for like 5 minutes? Both seem like, I don't know that they both seem terrifying. I don't know. Yeah. Or, Spirit Airlines to London also seems dangerous. But of these two choices, which would you rather have?
I think at the moment I would pick the rocket ship.
Yeah, but that seems...
Based on recent events. How much money did you say we had to...
I thought I read that this was like 250 grand, but it's basically like billionaires doing this. So they're taking a sub down to see the Titanic. First of all, I think space would be more interesting to go see. If I'm risking my life to go see one of the two things, a ship on the ocean floor or be in space, although floating around in space for a long time is sort of terrifying too. I never watched that movie, that is, but
I'd rather donate the money to the Shohei Ohtani fund.
That's a wise choice.
Same.
Yeah,
that's your spin zone.
$250,000 per person to go see this sub.
Might take.
I think the rocket ship
to get Shohei Ohtani.
The rocket
wherever you're trying to get
is less than that or more than that.
It might take $600 million to get Ohtani wherever you're trying to get him. 250,000 would maybe make a little bit of a dent in there.
I can't believe these people went on this thing and they're all dead.
Yes, Sarah's invested. Well, I mean, it certainly seems like it.
Yeah,
the pictures I've seen of the sub look like a little toy sub that a kid would have in a bathtub type thing. It's just like a little glass cube. First of all, I'd be terrified not knowing this outcome. I'd be terrified going down in this thing.
I'm just curious, like, have they been doing this for years?
It's not a brand new thing. Like I saw today, there was an interview with somebody that's
actually
done it before.
It's all over the internet. You can look it up there.
Sorry, it's a Cubs podcast. I know. I'm sorry, but I'm just like so mind blown right now. Like, what?
It's all over the internet. You could Google is your friend. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
I
just
did
know
the
people are
horrible
talking
ways.
about Titanic right now. I didn't know.
I know it's rich. I know it was like they spent money, but like it is real people. Like I don't. If you have to go and you run out of oxygen, is that worse than if there was a tiny little leak and the thing's filling up with water? What if there's a little tiny crack and you start seeing water drip into the thing and you can't get to the top?
Yeah, I don't wanna
Awful.
think about that.
Anyway, all right. So we haven't been told no. We haven't been told no about London. So Rachel's going to save us a stool at the pub.
Yep. And
CHGO
tickets to go to the game are real cheap on Game Time, like we said yesterday.
Really? Game time tickets?
They're like $6, Luke.
$6?
$6.
Yeah, we saw that on Game Time. It's if
$6.
you're in London,
If you're in London, you
check
probably
out a
spending
baseball
more
game.
money to travel over there than you are to go to the game. That's for sure.
Very much.
Wow. All right. We know this was an early time for those of you that joined on the live YouTube chat, but we thank everybody that joined us for this. If you're listening to it in podcast form on Spotify or Apple in the future, make sure you give us a positive review, 5-star review, only thumbs ups. And we appreciate all that. Make sure you sign up to be a diehard so you don't miss anything at all. And while you're at it, well, first of all, you get the free shirt, which is great. But look, Ryan, I found it. I found this one.
You
There you
found
go.
it.
I found it. I've been
Happy
missing it
for
for a
you.
month. I found it piled up in the corner of my closet.
Very
And
happy
make sure
for
you sign up to be a diehard and also subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these if they happen to come on at odd times like this one. But thanks to everybody for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. The next live podcast, unless, of course, we're in London, which we haven't been told no yet, would be coming up Sunday after game 2. Corey and Brendan will have it live right after that game, which I believe starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. So
I told Corey they have to do it in a British accent. I don't know if they're going to do it yet,
That
but
would
we'll
be
see.
amazing.
Would love to hear Brendan try and have a British accent.
I would
I
love
would like to see Corey and Brendan do it after Corey's trip to Sunnyside with a British accent. That's the podcast we all need.
Yes.
So, anyways, have
That's
a
how you
spot,
make a
have a
good
spot
Sunday
of tea on Sunday and join them for the podcast. Until then, thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast and fly the W.